Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be completely alone? To wake up one morning and find that every other person on Earth has vanished? This isn't just a hypothetical question. For James, it became his terrifying reality. One Tuesday morning, the world fell silent. The usual symphony of city life, the distant sirens, the hum of traffic, the chatter of neighbors was gone. Replaced by an eerie, profound silence, James woke up not to his alarm, but to this deafening quiet. He called out for his family, but only the echo of his own voice answered. He rushed outside. The streets, usually bustling with morning commuters, were empty. Cars were parked haphazardly, some with their doors still open, as if their occupants had evaporated mid-sentence. There were no birds chirping, no dogs barking, not even the rustle of a squirrel in the trees. The world, in its entirety, was empty. It was just him. Panic set in first, a cold, sharp wave that washed over him. He ran through the streets, his footsteps the only sound, shouting until his voice was raw. "Hello. Is anyone out there?" But the silent buildings and empty parks offered no reply. He checked houses, stores, and offices, each one a perfectly preserved, yet lifeless, diorama of a world that was there just yesterday. He was the last man on Earth. After the initial shock subsided, the practicalities of survival took over. He discovered that the infrastructure, miraculously, was still running. Lights flickered on with the flip of a switch, and water flowed from the taps. Supermarkets were fully stocked, a treasure trove of food and supplies. For a while, this was a strange kind of freedom. He could take any car, live in any house, and eat whatever he wanted. He drove a sports car down the middle of a deserted highway. The engines were a temporary comfort against the crushing silence. He moved into a luxurious penthouse overlooking the city, hoping the view would somehow make him feel less small, less alone. But as days bled into weeks, and weeks into months, the novelty wore off, replaced by a loneliness so profound it felt like a physical weight. The silence was no longer just an absence of noise. It was a presence, a constant companion that reminded him of his isolation. The silence mocked him in the grand, empty halls of the library and haunted him in the vacant seats of the movie theater where he'd watch old films, just to hear human voices again. He scavenged an old ham radio from an electronics store, spending countless hours tinkering with it, driven by a desperate hope. He'd send out a message, the same one, every day, into the static-filled void. "This is James. I'm in the city. If anyone can hear me, please respond. Is anyone out there?" The only reply was static. A hiss that sounded like the universe laughing at him. The loneliness began to gnaw at his sanity. He started talking to himself, at first just muttering his thoughts aloud, but soon he was having full-blown conversations. He'd argue with himself over what to eat for dinner, tell himself jokes, and then laugh at them. He created imaginary friends, giving names to the mannequins in a department store, sharing his daily news with them. It was a desperate attempt to fill the void, to hear a voice, even if it was just his own. He knew he was teetering on the edge, but the alternative, succumbing to the silence, was far more terrifying. He realized that if he was going to survive, he couldn't just exist. He had to live. He had to create a purpose. He taught himself new skills from the books he gathered. He learned to cook gourmet meals from dusty cookbooks, setting a full dinner table for one every night. He started a small garden on a rooftop, tending to the fragile seedlings with a gentleness he didn't know he possessed. Watching something grow, something alive, became his anchor. It was a small, green rebellion against a dead world. He learned basic mechanics to keep a generator running and studied astronomy to understand the celestial bodies that were now his only consistent companions. But even with these routines, despair was a frequent visitor. Some nights, he would sit on the rooftop, staring up at the brilliant and polluted canopy of stars, and weep. The sheer cosmic indifference of it all was overwhelming. He was a ghost in a museum of humanity, the last witness to a world that was no more. Hope felt like a distant memory, a word from a forgotten language. He was just a man, waiting for his time to run out, just another light to be extinguished in the silent dark. Then, one night, As he was about to surrender to another wave of hopelessness, he saw it. Far away, on the horizon, nestled among the familiar, steady glow of the stars, was something different. A tiny light. It blinked out once, out twice. It was rhythmic, deliberate. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a plane. It was a signal. For a moment, he thought his mind was finally breaking, that the loneliness had conjured a phantom light to taunt him. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. It was still there, blinking. A tiny, persistent pulse in the vast, overwhelming darkness. Hope, an emotion he thought he'd lost forever, exploded within him. It was a physical sensation, a jolt of electricity that shot through every cell of his body. It wasn't just a light, it was a promise. It was proof. He wasn't alone. He scrambled for his things, his hands shaking, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. He grabbed a backpack, water, and the sturdiest car he could find. He didn't know how far it was, or what he would find when he got there. It didn't matter. All that mattered was the light. As he drove through the night, the blinking light was his North Star, his beacon. The silence in the car was no longer oppressive, it was filled with anticipation. Every mile brought him closer, not just to the source of the light, but to a feeling he thought he'd never experience again: connection. The world was no longer empty. It had a destination. It had a future. He was no longer just surviving, he was on a quest. He was going to find that light. He was going to find them. James's story is a powerful reminder. It's about the resilience of the human spirit and our innate need for connection. It shows that even when we feel completely lost, trapped in our own silent worlds, a single flicker of hope is all it takes to reignite our purpose. It teaches us that in the darkest of nights, we should never stop searching for the light, because you never know when you'll find another soul blinking back. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the depths of the human experience. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, keep searching for your light.